Hey everybody, so today I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to be inside and in the kitchen. The video quality might be a little shaky on this one because I don't have a way to set my tripod and stuff up in here, so it's going to all be handheld. Anyhow, what I'm going to try and show today is how I season a carbon steel frying pan. Not too different from how I would season a cast iron pan. But basically same process, just done a little different. So I'm going to show you guys that today. So the pan I have, I just purchased this one, is a Matfer Bourgeois omelet pan, or it could just be used as a frying pan. But the edges are a little more sloped to help if you flip eggs or flip an omelet, and a little taller. This is the, gosh, I forget now, I think it was the 8 3/4 inch size pan, which means the actual cooking surface, I mean technically the whole pan will be hot and cooked, but the bottom part is around 6.5 inches, which for me works really well for making like a 3-egg omelet. This is what I got this pan specifically for, doing omelets and frying eggs and that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do today is show how I season my pans, and to achieve basically a non-stick cooking surface that will rival any Teflon pan. I don't use Teflon in my house anymore. I'm just not a fan of the coating that flakes off and then possibly you eat it and it's a chemical, and anyhow, that's a whole nother topic. So first thing you want to do when you get your pan is wash it. They come shipped with a waxy coating or an oily coating, just depends on the manufacturer, to prevent them from rusting. This is carbon steel, so it will rust really easy. So you got to wash it to get all that out before you start seasoning. I do want to point out, I am not, so here's the, excuse me, the manufacturer's recommendation for how to season the pan. And someday, maybe I'll do a video where I follow their steps precisely. There is a couple videos online where people do that and have good results. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to do my tried and true seasoning process that I do, on all my pans. So we'll go for that. I'm going to wash this up real quick and we'll be right back. Okay, so there it is, all washed up. I just washed it, hand washed it, hot water, a little bit of dish soap to remove any, film or anything that may have been on it. Depending on your pan or where you got it, you got to check real careful. Some of them come with actually a thin plastic coating, and I've seen reviews where people didn't realize that was on there, and they washed the pan and started heating it up, and then that burns off, and that's not pleasant. So be real careful. Check your pan really good to make sure there's nothing there. This one doesn't. This is a little bit about the pan. So this is a French manufacturer. The French are kind of known for their quality in these black carbon or carbon steel frying pans. There's a couple really good manufacturers out there. So, I guess it just kind of comes down to personal preference or, the reviews. Like I said, I went with this pan. This is specifically for doing omelets. Since I have a few years back got rid of all our Teflon in our home, I use mostly cast iron. I have some stainless steel pans, and I can still do my omelets in my cast iron, no problem. They don't stick or anything like that. But having worked in restaurants, I'm used to flipping them in the pan instead of with a spatula, and I can't do that with my cast iron. The sides are too straight up and down, and it doesn't allow the food to slide out. So I decided to get one of these for that. But these are really good pans and could honestly replace your cast iron. It's all personal preference, I think. So a little bit about the pan. They are heavy. So if you think it's going to be a lightweight frying pan, it's not. They're lighter than cast iron for their size, but they're heavier than a traditional, Teflon coated pan that you buy at the store. They're not too heavy in my opinion, but you get up into the 14, 16 inch pans, it might start to get heavy. Other than that, the care for these is going to be the same as cast iron. There's no need to really do a heavy scrubbing, washing in between using. A lot of people just literally wipe them dry when they're done cooking with them and put a light coat of oil on it. I do things a little bit different, but it still works. I wash mine after every use, but I don't, you're not scrubbing it off. This pan, as it seasons, will start to turn black. And it'll go through phases. It'll get browned, and then just keep going until it gets real nice and black, and that's what we're looking for. So you know, you don't want to scrub that off. That's your seasoning. It's not, you have to know the difference between seasoning and just burnt on food particles. So I've seen people's pans, especially cast iron, that they're so proud of because they're so blackened, and you know, they think they've got this 100-year-old seasoning on there, and you actually can pick away at it. That's just burnt on food that you didn't wash off. The seasoning will adhere. It's the oil or fats that you use adheres into the metal, and you can't, I mean, you would have to really scrub or grind it off or chemically remove it. It shouldn't flake off. It's possible for seasoning after a long time to start flaking off, but then again, it's probably just because it had a residue of oil on here in between cleans. You weren't wiping off well enough, and then that burned, and then that's what you're seeing flake off. Anyhow, I'm rambling here. So my choice for seasoning, I use lard. That's just a personal preference. You could use a cooking oil. I'm not a big fan of cooking oils just to cook with. I cook mostly with lards and butters. I do use olive oil for some cooking. There's some things that you just need an oil for. I'm not a fan of vegetable oils or canola oils, those kind of things, because I just think they're too processed. They do have a high temp, and that's the key here. You want something with a very high flash point so that you can season the pan. You want to get this pan probably up to at least 400 degrees by your final seasoning. I thought I would change camera views there. You guys don't want to just stare at a pan. So the key to your oils or fat that you use to season the pan is it has to be able to withstand higher heat than what you're going to cook in. I have good luck with lard. Lard's pretty good up to almost 400 degrees. It's not going to burn, and I don't traditionally cook much hotter than that. The occasional, if I threw the pan in the under the broiler to like sear off a steak or something, you know, where it might hit 500 degrees, is fine. The pan's going to smoke, but it's not going to ruin my seasoning. And I do this all the time with my cast irons and other pans, so, you know, it's just experience. Everybody's going to have their own preference. Everybody's going to have their own view, and I respect that. And do what works best for you. So if you're totally new to this, you can do what I'm doing, and you'll have good results. And you can, you know, Google it, YouTube it, see other ways of doing things, and try those and see which one works best for you and which one you like best. That's the only advice I can give to the whole cast iron and carbon steel world. But once you do it right and you get your pan seasoned, which should not take but a couple tries, and you should have it, I think you'll be sold. I since switching off of Teflon, I can't imagine ever going back. So anyhow, like I said, I use lard. This is all going to be on top of the stove. I don't do this in the oven on the carbon steels. My cast iron I do in the oven just because they take longer to heat up. You know, it's just a different process. These heat up quicker. So be prepared for smoke. There is going to be some smoking when you're cooking this in between coatings, and so make sure your area is ventilated. Be prepared for your smoke alarm to possibly go off. Mine may go off in this video. And then, you know, if you got a kitchen window mirror, have it open, whatever. Just try and ventilate, because you're going to get the pan hot. The other thing, have stuff ready to handle this hot pan. As you saw, it has a metal handle. I do have a silicone grip that will be installed when we're all done, because you're coating the inside and outside. You want to season this whole pan. The outside's just going to get a light coating, and it eventually will darken up, but it's not a big deal. The inside you want to darken up. The reason you're coating the whole pan is because you don't want like the handle or the outside of the pan to rust. So you're going to do a little coating on everything. I do that first, and then I put my handle on so that, you know, it's coated under there. Otherwise it'll rust under that handle. So have pot holders or a towel or something handy so you can grab this pan. And then if whatever you're using to wipe your oil on with, you know, have a backup, have a secondary ready. If you're using paper towels, get real heavy ones, even like shop towels, or fold over several towels. You know, you don't want it too thin because it'll burn right through your fingers. I use a cloth towel. I have a bunch of just dish towels that I don't care if I burn them or you know, leave black marks on them. So I just use those. They seem to hold the heat better. So anyhow, we're going to just get right to it. So I've washed, like I said, I washed the pan. I've got it stovetop right now on low heat. And I only do that to just kind of warm the pan up. I can still touch it. It's not too hot. And now what I'm going to do is put in a layer of my lard, wipe it in, and then turn the heat up. Depending on your stove, you know your stove better than I do. If you're electric, gas, induction, however your stove works, you want to start this process on about a medium-high heat. And we may finish at very close to high, just depending on the fat that you're using to season with. My lard, I can get up almost too high. I won't go all the way high because it will just start to burn. But you want to start out at least medium, medium high. And what that's doing is, you know, heat will make the metal expand. So it's going to open up the pores in here and let that oil get in. And then, you know, we wipe down the excess. I'll show you the process here. But so I'm going to turn this up now and wipe in my coating of oil. Like I said, I don't have my tripod, so I'm going to shut the camera off, do that, and then we'll come right back. So I turned the heat up and I wiped in, like I said, a thin layer. I don't know if it's showing up here. You can see some of it, you know, still kind of sticking there. It's slowly melting down. I did the handle, did the outside of the pan. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive. It's going to burn off, obviously. And this is the point where as this starts to heat back up now, we're going to see our smoke. I'm not going to film the entire process. We'll just keep checking back in between coats, but I'll explain what I'm looking for. So at this point, I've got my burner on close to medium high, and I want it to melt down everything that I just wiped on, and then it should just start to smoke. Possibly I'll see some browning in here, depends, but that'll eventually come. I may see it on the first round, maybe not. But basically I want it to just get to that smoke point. I'm going to pull it off, wipe it all down. That I'll use a paper towel for. Try and dry it the best you can, wiping off all that excess oil, and then recoat it. Set it back down, repeat the process. Okay, so as you can see, this is the first round. We're starting to get that smoke I was talking about and the discoloring. So at this point, you know, the handle's it's not really getting that hot yet, but it will eventually. I'm going to pull it off, wipe it down, and do what I was just talking about. I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. Okay, I just want to mention at this point, so I've just wiped it down and recoated it, and you'll notice when you do, especially if you're using a lard, it might be a little different with the vegetable oils, but when you're doing your recoating, because the pan's hot, it's going to melt that instantly, and so you'll have to keep reapplying it. So what'll happen is, because you're melting it, some of it's going to absorb into the towel that you're using to apply it with, and then some of it's actually absorbing, if you will, for lack of a better term, into the pan. So again, just like the first time, just keep wiping it on until it actually has, you know, that sheen, that gloss to it, which means you have excessive oil, and then put it back on the stove and let it cook. So this is after one round. You can see how it's browning up in the bottom there. We're back to that smoke point again, and it's hard to show because of my lighting here, but you can kind of see where the excess is melting down into the bottom of the pan. It's exactly what we want. So I'm going to wipe it out again and we'll do another coating. Okay, so this is round 3. And personally for myself, all I'm going for, so each time I pulled it off, I wiped the outside and reapplied a little bit of lard. This will be the last time I do it to the outside of the pan. I am not trying to achieve a non-stick surface to the outside of the pan. I just am trying to get a good bedded in layer of oil to protect it from rusting. I am trying to make the inside of the pan non-stick. So that's why we keep reapplying it here. Hard to see in the video. So the bottom is clearly burning up, browning really well, and it's starting to come up the edges. And that's what we want. We want to make sure the edges are seasoned well, especially on this type of pan, being an omelet pan, so that when we flip it and the eggs slide up the edge, that's still non-stick and they can flip right around. Like I said, this is the third coating. So this part of the pan up here gets hot just like the bottom, so it will take the seasoning. It just takes a little longer because it doesn't get as hot. So we're gonna do, this is kind of just by feel and experience. As I see that browning, I probably will not be able to get it browned all the way to the edge. That will take months and months of use, but it's getting coated well enough. So I'm probably gonna do, based off this, about 2 more coatings based off how the bottom is. I might be able to get it to a true black in the bottom before we're done. We'll see. Okay, so we're reaching that point of seasoning, especially stovetop, where we're, you know, the good stuff's starting to happen. Unfortunately, that's also where the smoke starts to happen. Now, I've not adjusted my heat. I haven't needed to on this stove. I may turn it down just a little bit for the next coating because my stove's funky. But like I said, every stove's a little different. But I'm definitely getting the heat I want, getting the smoke, as you can see. I just had to silence my smoke alarm, and I'm getting that great, I mean, nice caramel brown here, and it's actually starting to blacken over there. The edges are coming up in the brown. That's exactly what I want. So I think I'm just going to do one more coat, and then we'll be ready to cook with this and see how well we did. Just a quick word. So one of the reasons these edges are slower to season and will take longer and really don't come into true seasoning until just you know, lots of use, is one, because they don't heat up as quick, you know, they're not on the heat source, and two, the oil, the fat, whatever you use to season with, because of the design, the slope just runs right off of it. I still got a little bit of glimmer here, it's still hanging on just a little bit in spots, but it runs down as the pan gets hot, so it's really hard to keep that oil in there so that it can start to blacken like this and season it. That's why it's really important when you wipe out the excess and reapply to really just kind of, just like you were oiling a piece of wood or something, just try and rub that in there and make sure you're getting a good coating on it. You know, don't be shy when you rub these things down. Just wipe out the excess. You don't want too much, you know, pooling up in the bottom here, because then you're just burning fat and you're not actually seasoning the pan. But I think this is going to be my last round. We'll let it kind of cook down, do its thing, and then after this we wipe it out. That's my smoke alarm again.
The smoke alarm is over.
That's a Nest smoke alarm for anybody that's curious. Love it. Works through my phone. I can silence it. It can send me text messages. It lets me know when it detects anything. I just absolutely love the Nest smoke alarms. Sorry, a little quick plug there, but if anybody's looking at those or thinking about getting one, I highly recommend them. They're great, great. It's a smoke and carbon monoxide detector. Anyhow, back to seasoning this pan. So this will be my last coating, I think, and I'm going to wipe it all down real good. We'll let it cool manually, at least down to pretty close to where we could touch it, and then we'll wash it. You never want to take a hot pan and put it in water, even hot water. It'll just, it shocks it too quick, and it can cause warping, and you don't want that. It's kind of funny because years ago when I first started cooking, that's how we seasoned pans. We would get them red hot with oil in the bottom like this, and then we would either dump the oil out or leave it in there, but we would just sit the pan into a sink of water, not submerge it. You know, we didn't get the oil in the water, we just did it the outside, and when it shocked and froze all that metal back together, you know, locked that oil in. It worked, but we were also on gas burners with grates, so warped pans weren't an issue. But it was a quick way to season a pan in one setting. You didn't have to do multiple steps. Anyhow, I'm done here, I think. Smoking really good. Getting that nice seasoning up on the edges. Probably the best I can do. I mean, I could spend hours doing this and just slowly keep working it up. But it's going to work for what we're doing, and then let time do the rest. So let's get it all cleaned up. And when we come back, we'll do the ultimate test. We'll actually fry an egg in it and see how non-stick it is, okay? Hey everyone, real quick while I'm waiting for the pan to cool off and wash it, I wanted to show this. This is a, I believe it's pronounced Marcato Atlas 150 pasta roller. Really, really handy gadget for anybody who makes their own pasta. I don't know if any, how many of you guys do that, and if you do, whether you have a roller or not. If you don't have a roller, I highly recommend it. This is ever since I got this, my homemade pasta has just gotten so much better. It comes with an attachment for making fettuccine and like a spaghetti linguine style, a smaller pasta, and then this will just roll flat sheet for either lasagna or raviolis. You adjust it over here to the thickness that you want. If you guys are interested in this, I'd be more than happy to do a video on it, like make some raviolis or something and show you the whole process. If that's something that might interest you guys, I just thought I would show this. I had it on the counter. I just washed it, and while I was waiting for that pan to cool, I thought I would show that. So if you guys want to see more about that, or you like these kind of kitchen videos, I know I did a couple a while back. A few people commented that they liked them, so I'm going to keep trying to do one every now and then. They're just hard for me to do with consistency because our kitchen's not really set up to film in. But if you guys want to see something like that, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see what I can put together for you. We'll be right back with the finishing of the pan. Okay, so before we get to the pan, I do want to show the handle that I picked up with it. This is not included, and I want to say just about every manufacturer, at least of the higher end quality pans, are not going to include one of these. And that would be simply because in a lot of restaurants, they wouldn't bother putting these on. The cooks, the saute station, the chefs, whoever using these pans, would just have a towel, and they would use towels. At home, I highly recommend getting something like this. Simply because you may not be the only person using the pan, or you may not always have a towel handy. The other problem too is that handle can get really hot, especially if you're throwing it in and out of the oven or the broiler, and you can just bump it with your arm or something walking by, because our home kitchens are smaller than restaurants, and it'll leave a nasty scar. So this was through Update, was the company. I can put links down on the bottom. Like I said, didn't come from the same manufacturer, but it had really good reviews. It's just a silicone grip, rubberized type grip, oven safe up to, I want to say it said 450, which technically would be fine to put underneath a broiler, because you're not putting a handle under the burner necessarily. So, would be good for home. I'm not going to show putting this on. Like I said, I can't hold the camera and do that. They're really, really tight. They don't just slip on and off. So kind of once you put these on, or should be tight. Let's put it that way. They stay there. So it's difficult to squeeze this on, and I won't be able to hold the camera while I show it. I just wanted to show you the handle. So the next time you see the pan, this will be on it. That's why. All right, there's the pan all washed up. I got the handle on. This was the one recommended on Amazon to go with this pan. Personally, it wouldn't bother me if it was a tad shorter, but it's got a thumb spot on the top and finger wells on the bottom. Makes it really easy to grip and hold either hand. Oops, sorry. But like I said, it wouldn't bother me too much if it was a tad shorter, but it's not going to be a problem being long like that. Cleaned the pan out. Didn't necessarily have to scrub vigorously. I did notice when I was washing it that there was some, clearly just oil residue sitting in there, so I kind of, I just used my sponge scrubber, not like an SOS pad or anything, and so a little flaked off here. That's fine. The pan is seasoned, and I'm just warming it back up now over medium heat, and I'm going to fry an egg in it. Now, if you've never cooked with cast iron or carbon steel, a little different than obviously your Teflon pans, a lot different than like a stainless steel pan. You still have to use, even though this is going to be non-stick, you still have to use a fat or oil in the pan. So I'm not a fan of spray cooking oil like Pam or those types of products, so I don't use that. I could put a splash of olive oil in this, or for eggs I use butter, just a little. I don't even know how much to measure. I just little slice of butter off. The goal I'm going for is when it's melted, and I'll show that as I do this, it'll coat the bottom of the pan. The thing is, you don't want to be deep frying your food. You don't want so much oil in here that you're some people refer to as floating, your eggs. And I've seen videos of people that have seasoned pans, and they're so proud of how non-stick it is, and they'll cook an egg sunny side up, and then they'll say, look at that, didn't stick, look how great that was. And it's literally floating on the oil. They've got the heat really high so that the egg doesn't have a chance to, it's almost like it sears it, and it's on top of that oil just floating there. I don't cook like that. So this pan has to work for the way I cook. So I cook over easy eggs, I cook omelets, so I need to be able to flip it and have it not stick. And that's what I get when I do this. My cast iron skillets, I can cook a big skillet of scrambled eggs in it, and when I'm all done, there might be, there's hardly even a hint that anything was cooked in it, and I just wipe it off with a towel and we're done. That'll be the same thing here. So, like I said, what I'm going to do next is fry an egg in it, and we'll show you guys how that looks. And now we've heated it back up, ready to cook on. Like I said, we're just going to put some butter in. Again, I don't know how much that is. It's less than a tablespoon. I just do it by sight. Let it melt down. See how that's melting quickly, but it's not burning. Exactly what I want. I'm gonna roll it around the pan so I can coat my whole pan, and that'll ensure that when I fry my egg, it'll come up fine. Butter's all melted. Got my egg here. Just put it in the pan. See how quickly that started cooking, but it's not burning. That's exactly what we want. It's kind of like the searing process of a piece of meat. It's setting that egg white quickly, and then it's going to allow it to release from the pan. If the temperature was much lower and it took a while for that white to cook up, you could get it to stick, because then it's actually kind of bonding to the pan, if that makes sense. If it was much higher, you would be burning the edges. You'd be burning your butter, you'd be browning the butter, possibly just blackening it, and it wouldn't be very tasteful to eat. So as I like my eggs over easy, so as this egg starts to set, I got a little bit of white still left in here uncooked, but basically the bottom's pretty much set. And at that point, you know, I can get ready to flip the egg. And we'll just flip it over. We didn't get any of that on camera, did we? Throw your butter in, let it melt. You don't want it too hot so that it, you know, browns or burns the butter. You just want it pan hot enough to melt it. All I'm doing here is coating the whole bottom of the pan, make sure the butter, you know, so the pan has oil. When I fry the egg, I don't want it floating in butter, so I don't know how well it shows up in the video, but that's just from non-clarified. But as you can tell, there's not, I mean, it's just a coating in there. It's not like an inch deep. We'll throw our egg in. And that's kind of what we want. You want to see the white start setting right away. If it sat too long, which would mean the pan was too cold, it's probably going to stick. We're going to do it over easy, so we'll let the whites cook up, almost set all the way through, and then I'll flip it, you know, for 30 seconds or whatever, flip it back, and it'll be done. Sorry. At this point, while you're cooking the egg, and this is really helpful with omelets, but even with frying an egg, if you got a little rubber spatula, it's okay to go under to make sure it's not sticking. That one's not. As you saw, it's just sliding around. And the only reason I would do that is so that I know when I get ready to flip this, it's not going to tear the egg. But that egg is not sticking to this pan anywhere. We'll just flip it over. Like I said, we're going to wait 30, 45 seconds, let that yolk and white set on top, and then we'll flip it back and be ready to eat. That's how I eat my eggs. Obviously, you cook yours however you want, but this shows you how non-stick this. You know, we just seasoned this pan. You watched me do the video of it, and it good to go. Perfect egg, didn't break the yolk. Everything's cooked, nothing's sticking. There you go. It just slides right out. Look at the pan. I mean, there's all the oils that was in there is still in the pan. That's less than a teaspoon probably. It didn't get in the egg or anything like that. Perfectly cooked farm egg. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to post down in the comments. Let me hear how you season your pans. Like I said, everybody has their own way, but this is what I do, and it's what works great for me. Thanks now. Have a great day. Bye.